Mr. Wright has written in this, and this is something I'd written
Andrew
already.
Wright? We're just talking about Andrew Wright.
Well, maybe it's him. Who knows? Mr. Wright is all he identifies himself with, and I love it when people bring up when somebody, before they were famous kind of thing, has done enhancement work for the WWF, and it's just one of those continuing sources of fascination to me. So, Mr. Wright writes in, why was your segment when you wrestled as enhancement talent as Matt Byrne cut from your WWE Icons documentary back in 2021? I remember in the trailer they showed a picture of you at a Wrestling Challenge taping, and I love when I have a guest. Oh, sorry, that's my notes. Forget that. So how come that wasn't in the documentary for starters? And we'll move on from there.
I don't think I let anybody know that yet. I think when we made that documentary, that was something that I still kept to myself, which, by the way, you wouldn't believe how much stuff people still don't know. And I always say, I'll put it in the book, but I've also been saying that I'm working on a book for 20 years. So don't start asking me how that's going, because I don't think I told them. I was protective of a lot of things. I went to WWE with my hands up, total defense, expecting they're going to change my name to something, erase my past, create some character. And I had hesitations of going there because of that. I didn't even know I was going to help revive the ECW. So it was still during that breaking in period time when they did the One of a Kind DVD. There was that, which I wouldn't have brought up. And there was also the fact that I kissed Ted DiBiase's foot. I was afraid to bring that up because I thought that maybe they would create this agenda where it's driven me crazy ever since that night. And I became a professional wrestler just to get in the ring with Ted DiBiase. I could just see that happening. And I really wasn't cool with that, so I didn't tell anybody. And when they interviewed my dad for that, I believe this is on that One of a Kind DVD, but there was a show called Before They Were Superstars, and they interviewed my dad, and he told them. And at first I was like, dude, you told them about that? Like, at least inside, that's how I was feeling. So I was like, man, I wonder if they're going to try and use that against me. And then, now it's like I just love transparency. So, I said there's a lot that I haven't. There's still a lot that people don't know, but it's not stuff that's hidden. It's just stuff that never comes out in interviews. As a matter of fact, every week when I'm doing my podcast, all the stories, just because they ask me different questions, I always feel like they're inspiring me to tell things that I haven't thought about in decades, and different stories instead of the rehashed same old. So
what's that podcast called again, Rob? I forget.
One of a Kind.
Where can people find it?
Where you know what? That's a good question.
Oh, dude, I'll tell you what, I'll help out. It's on YouTube. Just search Rob Van Dam, Current AF.
Real RVD is all my what do you call it? All my social media. Yeah. Thank you. Is all the Real RVD. So that's my YouTube as well. Yeah, but it's also on, I guess, I don't know, where other places you find podcasts at Premier Network, and what's that other one?
iTunes. Spotify, all of those.
Oh yeah,
One of a Kind, the podcast. Don't forget it. We're going to because anyway. So going back to the Matt Byrne thing, and when you ended up in doing a single appearance for the WWF, and I think like '92. How did you get that gig?
2, actually.
Oh, you did 2. I thought you only did 1. Were you Matt Byrne on both of them?
Right. Yes. Right. So here's what happened. I'm in Tampa in '91. And I'm part of the clique down there. Pat Tanaka was the hookup with WWE, and he was training guys. He may or may not have had the book. No, he didn't have the book yet, unless it was '92, which that would make sense. Anyway, he also booked for a while. He was in the office at the Tampa Sportatorium, but WWF was coming through Tampa, and he was hooking up some of the local guys with jobs. And during those days, for anybody that doesn't know, the matches were enhancement matches. It was a superstar versus a nobody, which would be somebody on their way up, make their name, whatever. And for the nobody, not only is it exposure and learning experience, but also $150 when the Sportatorium was paying me $35 a week to be Rob Van Dam. So they went through WWF, and I don't think I was promised anything, but somehow, like, I was on his list of people Pat was going to hook up. I didn't get hooked up. So to make up for it, he said if we drove to Mississippi, that he could get us on those tapings. And so myself, I rode with Sandy Beach. There's been more than one Sandy Beach, but that's another conversation. We went up there, and it was like there was 2 shows back to back, Monday, Tuesday, or whatever it was. And it was either Biloxi, Mississippi, and something in Louisiana, or something like that, something that was very close. And I didn't want to work. I just wanted to get paid to show up, because that's what happened on the first day. They said, "Oh, sorry, kid, we don't have anything for you. We should have something for you. Are you coming tomorrow?" "Yeah, we should have something for you tomorrow." And I was like, sweet, I just made $150 to show up. And I really wasn't into getting beat on TV, even at that stage. I mean, I was young and green, but I had a little momentum as Rob Van Dam. I was getting a push. I was in the magazines a little bit. And so I changed my name to Matt Byrne. For people that don't get the joke, it's not about burning unless you want it to be, but it's actually something that all wrestlers have, is Matt Burns. And the next day I had to work twice. So I wrestled against the Mountie, and my memories of that match are that I tried to change my look as much as possible. So I was slicking my hair back with gel because it was too short to tie back. But for my Van Dam look, I tried, and then I tried to keep it dry and down to be Matt Burns. And I wore blue trunks and these white boxing boots and blue volleyball knee pads. And I wore a shirt. I thought that's a pretty good change from it. Had the match. Walking back through Gorilla, I walked through, and then I could hear some yelling going on behind me that I just passed. And Gorilla Monsoon was yelling like, "What? No, he didn't, did he?" And I'm like, "Uh-oh." Gorilla Monsoon comes out and says, "You didn't wear that shirt during the match, did you?" And I was like, "Oh, yeah." He goes, "What? Why would you do that?" And he was like mad. And he's like, we might have to redo that match now. We might not be able to use it because you decided to wear a shirt during the match. Why wouldn't you want to show your body, show your skin? Ridiculous. I don't know if he actually said ridiculous. I'm paraphrasing. He was upset. I was like, oh, shit. And then later on, I was in a match, in a handicap match with Sid. And it was me and Scott Casey. And so now, not only am I doing a job on TV, but I'm in a handicap match. So, I could hear the Sheik being angry at me because he's trying to teach me to be a star, not just to wrestle. But I don't know. But my inner voices inside were struggling. But anyway, had the match, and I got to tell you my memories of that. I knew Bruno. Bruno was managing him, and I knew Bruno from the Memphis days. So it was,
Harvey Whippleman at the time.
Yeah. So that was my in, so I was cool with him. So he introduced me to Sid before the match and everything. And I'm thinking maybe that's why Sid was so cool. I don't know. But after the match, Sid came up to me and he said, "Hey, brother," he said, "I really appreciate what you did in there, with doing the job for me like you guys did. And I know it's not cool necessarily getting beat like that, but what you did, he said, helped me out. And you brought me from here up to here." And he said, "That's where I want to be because I want to wrestle Hulk Hogan." And he said, I really appreciate what you did." And he gave me $20. He said, "I know this ain't much, but hopefully it'll help get you down the road a little bit." I don't think and Scott Casey also told me that he did the same to him. And I can't remember another wrestler tipping me like that ever in my career. That was just amazing, and so super cool.
Who was, very briefly with this as well, who was the guy who was almost like the concierge at the back, who would sort of like shuffle you around, show you the locker rooms, tell you what you're doing, tell you who you're wrestling that night, that kind of thing?
It seems like Tony Gurria was around back then. Tim White. I don't know if anyone was shuffling me around. It seems like I was more or less following Sandy, and he was probably looking for Pat. I remember a bunch of guys playing cards on a table, just killing time all day and not really caring, when I'm walking around, like, does somebody want to tell me where to go or anything? And everyone's just kind of ignoring me. I remember more of that. So I don't know specifically.